Hello and welcome to the Sallie Tomato YouTube channel. I'm Kate, and here at Sallie Tomato we really enjoy bringing you tutorials that both educate and inspire. Today we're going to be making the Benny pattern designed by Renee Kapitansky. This easy to sew project is constructed of breathable mesh, so it's perfect for use at the gym, poolside, or beach. Renee was inspired by the movie character Benjamin Barry and how she imagined he might bring his laundry home or workout clothes home from the gym. She plans to use Benny to carry her grandson's beach toys. The sand shakes right out through the mesh. Its drawstring closure and the use of Sallie Tomato Mini Mesh make it an incredibly versatile bag and very beginner friendly. You can easily refer to the blog post if you'd like step-by-step written instructions. This easy tote bag has endless uses, so let's get started. First, we're going to prepare the pockets. Fold one elastic piece E in half lengthwise and encase one edge of the main fabric, that would be piece C, pocket, and align the cut ends of the elastic with the raw side edges of the pocket, and then pin the elastic to the pocket. You'll stretch the elastic a little bit to fit and pin. And if you find sewing clips easier to work with, by all means use those. And then we'll move on to the machine. Repeat the steps to add the remaining elastic piece to the edge of the remaining main pocket piece. Center one pocket along the long 20-inch bottom edge of each main fabric piece A. That's your front and back, aligning the bottom raw edges. Remember to stretch the elastic at the top of the pocket, keeping the sides of the pocket parallel to the sides of the front or back panel piece. At the machine, you're going to baste a 1/4 inch from the pocket side edges and bottom edge. Now we can attach the shoulder straps. With the right sides up, center the ends of one webbing piece D, that's the shoulder strap, over the main back pocket side edges. Align the raw bottom edges of the strap and the panel, and keep the strap centered over the pocket sides and then pin in place. Check that you have no twist in the shoulder strap. One thing I did find, allow the elastic part of the pocket to pull in the main panel. It's okay if there's a gather or a pleat up above the pocket. It's easiest to align the webbing strap if the side edges of your panel are straight. I'm checking to keep the edge of the strap parallel to the side edges. And we're going to move on to the next step, and I'll show you that on the front panel. You can see I have that kind of gather or pleat at the center. Straps are parallel to the side edges. We're going to mark a horizontal line up from the bottom ends of the strap, and be sure to refer to your pattern for that measurement. This will be used as a stitching guideline when we go to the machine. And then at the machine, we'll top stitch 1/8 inch from the edges of the webbing strap and stitch across the strap at that marked line. You're going to repeat the steps to attach the remaining shoulder strap to the back pocket. To assemble the tote, place right sides together, aligning the side and bottom edges of your front and back pieces. Pin or clip the edges together. Sew the side seams together using the seam allowance listed in the pattern instructions. You'll begin at the top edge and then sew just a short portion of the seam and back stitch. You'll sew the remaining part of the seam beginning below that previous stitching, leaving an opening in the seam. And continue to the bottom edge of the front and back panel. You'll repeat the same steps for the opposite side seam. These openings in the seams will become part of the casing for the drawstring. Now turn the tote right side out. Mark the center of the front and back along the bottom edge, and then mark the center of each edge on your main fabric piece B. That's the base. Now with wrong sides together, align the tote bottom edge with the base edges. Match the side seams of the tote to the center marks along the opposite short edges of the base. Match the front and back center marks along the opposite long edges of the base. Be sure to use lots of pins or sewing clips to hold these aligned edges together. And the reason Renee chose to place wrong sides together was because we'll be adding elastic to finish the edge, and she liked the contrast. Sew an 1/8 inch seam allowance along the base. Pivoting at each corner and checking that all the layers are securely sewn together. A stiletto helps hold the layers in place near the corner where you're going to pivot. Also, if the main fabric of the panels doesn't quite fit into the corner of the base, that's all right. Allow that edge or corner to round a little bit. We're going to be covering that whole seam allowance in the next step. To pivot at the corner, I'm allowing a tiny little pleat to form at a diagonal angle in the main panel fabric, the front back fabric, keeping the base as flat as possible. And then as I approach the corner, I'll have the needle in the down position through all the layers, and then lift the presser foot, turn, and replace the presser foot back down and continue sewing. Fold the elastic piece F, that's the longest piece of elastic, in half lengthwise and encase the base seam allowance. You're going to stitch about an 1/8 inch from the elastic edges. Now you could certainly pin the elastic all the way around, but because we're going to stretch the elastic slightly around the little corners, I'm just going to clip the elastic in place to get started and then carefully sew as I'm folding the elastic over the edges, stretching the elastic slightly to fit around the corners. I'm going to begin sewing on the elastic to cover the raw edges of the base along a side seam. That way it's a little less noticeable than in the front or back of the tote bag. I think it's easier to sew the elastic on with the base down to the bed of the machine. That way you can move the front and back panel areas or fabric at the corners out of the way as you need to when you're sewing. To finish off the end of the elastic, I'm just going to fold the extending tail about a 1/2 inch wrong sides together on the elastic. Position the tote bag, then fold that elastic over, encasing the beginning, and we'll top stitch all the way to the end. Now we're ready to create the casing and insert the elastic drawstring cord. With wrong sides together, fold the top tote edge down. I'm finger pressing the seam allowance open at the side seams so that the casing is more functional. And then top stitch a little distance away from the top fold edge. And again, follow your pattern instructions for the dimensions. Then we'll thread one drawstring piece G through one casing opening all the way through to the opposite seam allowance. And repeat that to thread the second drawstring end through the opposite casing. So both drawstrings are coming out at each side seam casing opening. Once you have the drawstring threaded through the casings, thread the drawstring onto each cord stopper, one cord stopper at each side seam, and you can certainly knot the ends of the cord. I have a very firm, substantial cord, so I'm just going to use kind of a square knot. And you're ready to go. I hope you enjoyed making this mesh tote, whether it's for the gym, the poolside, or maybe even a farmer's market. Let us know in the comments if you have any further questions or suggestions. Please share and show off your photos using the hashtag SallieTomato on social media. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe. That way you won't miss out on any future tutorials. Thanks so much for joining me, and I hope you'll check out the rest of our pattern line for more creative projects. And remember, there's always time to make it a great making day.